Hello and welcome back, survivors, to day 3 of my 7 Days to Die Insane Difficulty series. While I go over today's plan, I'll play a quick recap of everything I got up to last night. The plan for today is pretty simple. First thing this morning, I'm going to start building my Horde base. It's not going to be anything fancy. If it keeps the zombies off me on Horde Night, I'll call that a success. We can always improve and upgrade it later. Ideally, I'd like to get the main support structures built and upgraded to wood before moving on. Once that's done, it's time to pay a visit to wherever supply trader Rhett to see what jobs he's got available. We'll spend most of the day completing quests, looting points of interest and gathering as many resources as possible. The plan is to keep going until around 8 PM. So the final couple of hours before 10 PM, I want to start digging a small stone mine near the base. That way I'll have a perfectly safe place to gather stone during the nights when it's too dangerous to be wandering around outside. It also gives us a steady supply of materials for upgrading the Horde base in the days ahead. With that said, enough talking, let's jump straight into day 3 and see what kind of trouble we can get ourselves into. With night 2 completed, that brings us to day 3, and it's finally time to start building our Horde base. To kick things off, we're going to start with the foundation. After thinking about it for a while, I've decided to build it in a car park. That way we've got solid ground beneath the entire structure, which should make it much stronger when the zombies start piling in on Horde Night. It's not going to be the biggest or the fanciest base in the world, but if it keeps me alive, I'll call it a success. We can always improve and reinforce it as the days go by. Right then, enough talking, let's get this build montage underway. So let's begin. I really like the cube barrel design, so I've decided to build the base with 4 pillars, each standing 6 blocks high. The idea behind this design is that later on, I can dig a pit underneath so the zombies will drop down, climb back up and keep cycling through the same route. Hopefully that'll make Horde Night a lot more manageable. After finishing the first pillar, I repeated the process for the remaining support pillars, making sure that they were all the same height and properly spaced. Once they were in place, it was time to connect them together. To do that, I kept things nice and simple by using a standard square platform. First, I linked the second pillar to the first, then connected the third pillar, and finally joined up the fourth and last pillar to complete the main framework of the base. It's still early days, but the Horde base is finally starting to take shape. Next on the list is the fighting position. I had to make sure everything was centered and spaced correctly because this is where I'll be spending most of Horde Night. The plan is to have 2 fighting windows. The first window will give me somewhere to take cover from cop spit and other ranged attacks that come my way. The second window is positioned so I can use the heavy attack with my sledgehammer without hitting the block directly in front of me. If this works the way I've planned, I'll get the best of both worlds, great protection and plenty of room to land those devastating power attacks. Of course, that's all in theory. Whether it actually works when the blood moon arrives is another question entirely. It might turn out to be a brilliant design, or it could completely fail spectacularly and add a few more numbers to the death counter. What do you think? Leave your prediction in the comments and let me know how many deaths you think I'll have by the end of the series. Hopefully, it's less than I'm expecting. Whilst I was out gathering a bit more wood for the Horde base, a couple of locals decided they fancied their chance against the sledgehammer. Let's just say it didn't end well for them. A few well-placed swings later, both of them taking an early trip back to the afterlife, and I was free to carry on collecting the resources I needed. Just another normal day surviving the apocalypse. With the base construction finished for the day, it was time to pay trade or another finish. After all that building, I worked up quite an appetite, so I decided to treat myself to some dinner for later. A well-fed survivor is much more effective survivor, especially with another busy day of quests and zombie smashing still ahead of us. So after arriving at Rex, I took a look at the quest he had available.
If you bring me a cold one, I
Skeeter's
might
place
give
as
you
my
a
next job.
discount.
It looks like a good opportunity to grab some decent loot while making progress towards unlocking the
You need
bicycle.
some work?
I also checked
What?
on Rex to be
What are
restocking
you
his
standing
inventory.
there for?
It turns out
Don't
that's
you have
happening
work
tomorrow.
to do?
That means I really need to earn enough dukes today to buy that cooking magazine and the Forger Head magazine
Well, you
before
better
they
get your
disappear
ass to
from
crack a
shelves.
book, 'cause you're dumber than
Now that we've arrived, it's time to find out what Skeeter has been hiding from us. DJ, you know the cue. Hit the music. Let's clear this place out and see if there's any loot worth taking home, or if it's just another building for the zombies waiting to ruin my day. So with the place cleared, it's time to see what kind of loot Skeeter was hiding. First up, we've got a wall safe. This might take a little while to crack open, but hopefully it'll be worth the effort. While we're waiting, we picked up some 9mm ammunition, an installation mod, a first aid kit, and a nice new pair of gloves. Then to top it off, we found 2 legendary parts and some shotgun shells. That's already a pretty decent haul. Next up was the working stiffs crate, and it definitely didn't disappoint. Inside we found a new axe, a repair kit, and some sledgehammer parts. I'll happily take all of those. Now for the moment of truth, the wall safe, and hell yeah, a level 4 pipe machine gun. That's a massive upgrade this early in the game. and we should be making dealing with tougher zombies a whole lot easier. I'd say that was a successful raid. Let's head back to Trader Rhett, hand in the quest, and see what job he's sending us on next. After arriving back at Trader Rhett, I decided to take the pipe bombs as my request reward. They may not be the most useful right now, but they'll definitely come in handy when day 7 and the blood moon finally arrives. Next, I picked up another quest at Mercy Point Camp, before selling off some of the junk I'd collected. Every dude counts at the moment because I'm still trying to save enough money to buy that cooking magazine and the Forge Ahead magazine before Trader Rhett restocks tomorrow. With that taken care of, there's no time to waste. We better get moving to Mercy Point Camp if we want to finish this quest before the day gets away from us. Let's see what kind of trouble is waiting for us over there. Upon arriving at Mercy Camp Point, I wasted no time getting stuck in. The quicker we clear this place, the quicker we can get our hands on the good loot and move on to the next quest. Finally, with Big Mama and their blasted biker taking up far more time than I'd hoped, I'm going to be cutting it very close if I want to make it back to Trader Rep before he closes. Anyway, let's see if the loot was worth the effort. Inside the main chest, I found an Urban Combat Volume 6, which is a fantastic find. It removes the movement speed penalty for armor, making it much easier to stay mobile during combat. Alongside that, I picked up a first aid kit, some ammos, and a level 3 pipe pistol. As long as we can find enough ammunition, we're starting to build up a pretty nice collection of weapons for Horde Night. There was still a little bit more loot to grab. I grabbed some 7.62 rounds, and from the pop and pill crate I found a medical magazine, some paper and a bit of plastic. Nothing too exciting from the crate, but every little helps. Right then, there's no time to hang around. I better get moving if I'm going to make it back to Trader Rep before he shuts up shop. After just barely making it back to Trader Rep before closing time, I had just enough time to hand in my quest and claim another medical magazine as my reward. Next, I sold off all the flowers I'd harvested along with the rest of the junk I'd picked up throughout the day. Hopefully, it was enough to buy everything I was after. I managed to pick up the cooking magazine, the Forge Ahead magazine, and even a shotgun magazine. I'm planning to start investing in shotguns soon, so getting a head start on these magazines is only going to help me later in the playthrough. With all of today's shopping finally out of the way, it was a good time to head back home before darkness fell. I'd rather not get caught out in the open after sunset, especially on insane difficulty. And that, ladies and gentlemen, brings us to the end of day 3. Let's take a moment to look back at everything we've managed to accomplish today and what we've got planned for tomorrow. The main goal for today was to begin construction on the Horde base, and I'm happy to say we've got that underway. We've also managed to complete several quests for Trader Rep before nightfall, bringing us one step closer to unlocking that bicycle. Unfortunately, I didn't get around to starting my stone mine, but that's going to be the very first job tomorrow morning. Looking ahead to day 4, the plan is to visit Trader Rep after his inventory restocks and to see if there's any new magazines, books and useful items worth buying. I'd also like to complete another 3 trader quests to keep progressing towards better rewards. On top of that, I want to start a small farm so we can begin growing our own crops instead of relying entirely on what we find while looting. Finally, I plan to use the workbench to combine the better sledgehammers and axes I've collected, giving us some stronger tools and weapons for the days ahead. If you've enjoyed today's episode, I'd really appreciate if you could check out days 1 and 2 if you haven't already. Don't forget to leave a like, comment and subscribe to support the series and help my channel grow. Until next time, survivors, stay safe, stay vigilant, and I'll see you tomorrow for day 4.